Howdy, y'all. Well, I'm sitting here looking at Proposition 1E, and it's kind of interesting flipping through this voter guide, but this proposition is practically identical to Proposition 84. Now, in trying to decide whether or not I want to vote on this particular project, I decided first I'm going to decide which proposition I look closer at. So, I've decided to flip over to the budget because I like to make sure that my government knows exactly what they want to spend their money on. That makes sense to a poor little field mouse like me. So, near as I can tell, the budget in Proposition 1E, they don't really know exactly where they're going to put their money. If you flip on over to Proposition 84, you find that they have a very detailed budget. They seem to know exactly where that money's going to go. So, here's my response to Proposition 1E. I'm going to say nay. And I suggest everyone flip on over to Proposition 84 because I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. So Proposition 84 talks about state spending on our water problems, which includes natural resource conservation, safe drinking water, flood control, other water quality and supply projects. Now let me take a slight digression here. For example, there are loans and grants to local agencies for the construction and implementation of wastewater treatment, water conservation, and water pollution reduction projects. Now, I would like to suggest that the County of Salinas do something about their water quality. These are folks that really need to get a loan. Now, there's a reason why I say this, which involves a recent E. coli outbreak that we had that killed a poor toddler over in Iowa. And the problem is, the reason why the E. coli got there is because all the rivers in the Salinas Valley, barring one or two, are polluted so heavily they exceed EPA standards. And their pollution is caused by poop. Specifically, cows upstream are dumping like crazy into the river. Now, instead of telling the farmers upstream, hey, you need to control your cow waste problem a little bit better, they've gone to the farmers downstream and said, hey, you can't use that water to irrigate your crops. Now, I find this to be a little bit backwards because I'm a field mouse, I like nature, and to have to tell my poor kids that whenever you're in the Salinas Valley, do whatever you have to do to stay away from the river kind of bothers me a little bit. But nevertheless, I'm done with my digression, so let's move on. Now, this particular proposal is looking at making bond money available for loans and grants, I like the loans part, primarily to local agencies and nonprofit organizations in order to, in order to spend on these bond funds, the legislature will have to appropriate them in the annual budget. So, here's the deal. Money won't necessarily be spent unless somebody says, I got to spend it for this, and the legislature says, well, by golly, you're right. Now, I like this because it just means that they're not going to just spend the money because it's there. They're going to say, we need the money, and so then it'll be there. And that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, if you look at the budget, it's very detailed. They tell you exactly what they're going to want to do with it. If you got any more details than that, my eyes would probably cross. And it seems to make a lot of sense to me. Now, the reason why we should actually worry about the dams and other things in this particular state is because let's look at the levee issue. California has a bigger and older levee system than New Orleans. Now, we all know what happened to the New Orleans levee after Hurricane Katrina came through, and let me just give you a quick summary of the FEMA top 3 disasters in the U.S. Number 1, terrorist attack on New York.